When we talk about NEKROS, we talk about two of his abilities, namely, his Desecrate ability, which makes him Loot Daddy Prime, and his Shadow of the Dead, which allows NEKROS to be a tank. When we pair it with its Shield of Shadows Augment, plus the new adaptation mod, well, that's the meta, and that's how most people play NEKROS. I don't have anything against this build, but, in all honesty, I find this build's kinda slow for my playstyle. I usually move around, and kill enemies, and I really hate babysitting those shadows. So, instead of relying on NEKROS' ability to tank, I decided to give him some crowd control, with the help of his Creeping Terrify augment, and as you can see, I can able to move around freely, and be the Space Ninja Necromancer that I always wanted to be. The mod setup for this build is pretty simple, but some of you may find it weird, suboptimal, or even crazy at first glance. But before you judge it, let me explain each mods, and how they function for this build. But first of all, I would like to say that this is not a 15 former build. It only requires you 4 or 5 former to achieve this mod setup. Okay, let me begin explaining my mod setup, beginning with the two Umbral mods. Umbral Vitality and Umbral Intensify does not only function to help me get more health, so I can effectively use my Despoil, but it also allows me to gain some power strength, without any negative effects. I know the fact that Creeping Terrify only needs 34% power strength, to gain that 80% slow, but what I'm aiming here is to have many enemies affected by this ability, as much as possible. The armor reduction is just icing in the cake. I added Stretch, so that the radius of Creeping Terrify will be wider. Now, I know that you are kinda bothered that I don't have any efficiency mods, nor energy mods on my mod setup, which probably will leave you thinking that this build will always be short of energy for casting abilities. Well, you are wrong about that. The 188 base energy is the only amount I need, as I can easily get my energy back with the help of Despoil and Equilibrium. These two mods synergizes really well with each other, in giving NEKROS both energy and survivability. The thing is, Equilibrium does give us energy whenever we pick up health orbs, which will be pretty dominant among all the loot drops, while our Desecrate ability is active. So, since Despoil uses our health to activate Desecrate, whenever we kill an enemy, obviously, we will refill our energy constantly, as we pick those health orbs dropped by the enemies upon death. Now, I choose health conversion over adaptation, for more survivability. As with this mod setup, we really don't need to be a bullet sponge. The strong point of this mod setup is crowd control, and you won't really get hit that much often, given the fact that you can affect all enemies with your Creeping Terrify. Health conversion is much better in my opinion, as not only it synergizes well with Despoil also, but it's a good way of taking a shot from an enemy that wasn't affected by your Terrify. Speaking of affecting all enemies with your Terrify ability, it is best that you equip enemy radar on your aura slot, as it will help you locate the enemies in your mini-map. This way, you know when and where to cast your Terrify ability. The Exilus mod slot is personal preference by the way, and you can replace it with any Exilus mod that you deem helpful for this mod setup. Lastly, I did try the Shield of Shadow and Creeping Terrify combination. What I did was, I removed Equilibrium, and Place Constitution, removed Primed Continuity, and added Transient Fortitude, and then, replace Health Conversion with Adaptation. It's pretty good, especially when you use it on mission wherein you need to defend something. The only problem is, you will stall for a couple of seconds, waiting to cast your ability. Yes, energy problem, but that can be fixed. Just replace Constitution with Despoil, and then replace Transient Fortitude with Energy Conversion. This fixes the problem, but you may still need Zenuric's Energizing Dash to cast your abilities without no worries. That's why I just stick with the Despoil and Creeping Terrify build variation, as it's more energy efficient and effective at the same time. Anyway, you can still use your fourth ability with the Despoil and Creeping Terrify variation, but not as a mean to tank damage, but to distract enemies. Distraction is also a good mean of survivability for NEKROS, as you can remove those aggression from the enemies towards you, and then you can safely cast your Terrify ability. To complete your ultimate Grim Reaper NEKROS setup, I suggest that you build yourself a heavy saw, which basically looks like a Grim Reaper's scythe. I still use my favorite Freed's Great Scythe, and it's really great with this NEKROS build, especially with the Tempo Royal stance, plus the Exodia Hunt Arcane, as it not just damage enemies, but it also adds crowd control to your setup. So, these are the components of my saw. You can copy it if you like, or build something stronger, or faster, depending on your personal preference. For the build, you can go with this one. If you value more survivability, then you can add healing return on your mod setup, and then add the usual damage, critical, attack speed, and status chance mods. However, if you prefer more DPS, then you can choose to equip 2 dual status mods in place of healing return and weeping wounds. The element depends on the faction you are facing, but this is always really good when paired with a viral build, as it has more slash damage. So that's it. I know that the build I have shared to you is not meta, and you may find it hard to believe that it actually works, but I promise you, this build is really fun, and allows you to experience an active playstyle for your NEKROS. If you are tired of babysitting your shadows, or don't want to be the ultimate camper NEKROS anymore, then I advise that you try this build for yourself. Before you go, I would like to officially announce that I'm giving away an Ember Prime access, courtesy of Digital Extremes. As you all know, all our giveaways are held on our Discord server. If you haven't joined our Discord server yet, then I advise you to do so. I have left a link on the video description below. Like always, please do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. If you did enjoy watching this video, thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.